starshine lights my way to bed. Magic rainbows glisten in my head. Just like a child, I live in Wonderland. All my dreams are coming true. Heavy shackles.
Hi, and welcome to Handmade by Ditsy Tulip. I'm Mal, for those of you that don't know me already, and today's video is a fabric and pattern review. So I was contacted by a new fabric shop which is opening called Pin and Sew UK. Let me just check I'm saying that right. Tell you what the Instagram handle is. So let's have a look. Yes, Pin and Sew UK. I will put a link in the video notes. So it's Aga, I think that's how you say her name, contacted me to say that she was opening a new online fabric shop which is specialising in knit fabrics, and would I be interested in choosing some fabric to review. And I'm so happy that I did, because I absolutely love the fabric that I have chose and worked with. I'll insert some photos, but just to show you as much as I can. It is a mustard and navy striped French terry, which is so drapey and so soft and super comfortable to wear. And the pattern that I decided to make was the Jennifer Lauren Handmade Gable dress version. So you've got the gable top, and then this is the expansion pack, which is the dress version, and the main difference is, of course, you've got the skirt, which has two options. You've got a pleated skirt or a gathered skirt, and the top, the bodice, is a little bit more tightly fitted than just the standard top version. It's got a little bit more negative ease built into it. And so this was the pattern that I chose. I really love the slash neckline on this. My microphone will be pulling it a little bit out of shape, but you haven't got a kind of curved neck. You just the neck is cut on the straight, and then it's kind of got a slash in it. So I really love the look of that. I did sketch out the dress using the My Body Model app again, so I think this has become part of my kind of standard sewing preparation now. It really helps me to plan out what I want to make, and so I'd used it to plan out on this one that I wanted the stripes on the arm and the bodice to go horizontally, but I wanted to try the stripes on the skirt running vertically, and I wasn't quite sure whether I'd like how it turned out or not, so I sketched it out first of all, and it worked out really well. With this version of the My Body Model app, it's the digital version that I used on Procreate, but I've printed it out on watercolour paper, so it looks a little bit more realistic, like it's been painted. I got on really well with the pattern. It is a really easy dress to make, so if you're new to knits, I definitely recommend this pattern. It is really simple, I think, because you haven't got to sew any neck bands or anything like that, because it is just kind of the slash neck. That's one of the most difficult parts really of sewing with knit, is getting the neck bands to fit and ease in correctly, and you don't need to do that on this top, so I would definitely give it a go. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the fabric and some hints and tips on how I worked with this fabric. Before I do that, I did actually film the fabric before I cut it, so you can see how it drapes and how it stretches, etc. So I'm just going to flick over to that video just to show you that, and then I will be back in a second. Okay, so let me just show you this fabric. So it's absolutely gorgeous, lovely mustard and navy colour. As you can see, the drape is lovely. You've got a good amount of stretch. As it's French terry, you can see on the back that is what it's like. yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. The fabric was really easy to work with. It was easy to cut out. What I tend to do when I'm working with a knit fabric, rather than using pins and scissors, I will place the pattern piece on the fabric and trace around it with a chalk wheel and then cut it out with scissors rather than kind of putting the pins in, because you can find the pins can pull it out of shape. One thing I strongly recommend if you are working with a knit fabric which has stripes is don't work with the fabric on the fold. Instead, have it as one piece of fabric and place your pattern piece on, trace around the edge, flip it over and trace around the other edge. That just really helps to ensure that your stripes are staying lined up. So if you can see, for example, on my bodies here, they're not perfect, but they're quite well matched up down the side seam, whereas if I'd have cut those pattern pieces on the fold, you may have ended up with them going a little bit crooked if it is that your fabric had shifted, and it's also more difficult to line it up. I will, next time I'm working with stripes, perhaps look at doing a video where I show you how I cut out the fabric to make sure you can do that stripe matching as accurately as you can. So that was the first thing. I don't use pins and I work with the fabric on the flat. Another tip is I find wonder clips are really useful when working with this type of fabric. So these are, I'll just show you, really doesn't want to focus on those, but they're like little plastic clips. Another super tip that I've got, and I did share this on my Instagram TV and I was really surprised at how many people weren't familiar with this. If, like me, you haven't got a cover stitch machine and you don't get on very well with twin needles, but you don't want to go for the old kind of zigzag hem finish, a really good tip that I've got is to use a specific type of thread which is called Seriflock, and I'll bring this in a little bit closer and show you in a minute. Now this is a kind of, I think they call it a woolly nylon thread, so I do use it quite a bit when I'm overlocking because it's great for that. But I've used this in my standard sewing machine with a standard straight stitch to sew the hems on the skirt and on the cuffs, and I'm not sure how it works, but it does. It keeps that seam stretchy. The thread, and it doesn't feel like it's elastic, it doesn't feel like it's stretching when I'm pulling it there, but when you sew it, it's like magic, and it does stretch. So let me just come in and show you this a little bit closer. So this is what it's called. It's Seriflock thread made by, I think it's called Metler, and it's about £4.50 or something like that for a 1,000 metre roll. And you can see, as I say, that's not going to focus, but it doesn't feel stretchy when you pull it as such. But when you've sewn it in a hem, so I'm going to show you my skirt. So you can see there's my hem and it stretches without any tugging or pulling at all. I'll just show you the hem on the sleeve as well. So there's the hem, which standard straight stitch, and that stretches with no problem at all. So that is a really useful tip, and as I said, not many people seem to be aware that this even existed, so I would definitely recommend that. Definitely cheaper than buying a cover stitch machine. You would need to put that in the needle and in the bobbin, because if you put standard thread in the bobbin, you're going to lose that stretchability. So put it in the bobbin and in the needle, and then that will work just fine. So that's it. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight as to how this lovely French terry fabric worked with the gable dress. I will definitely be buying more of this fabric in the different colourways, because it's just so comfortable and it was really good to work with. I used, the pattern calls out for 2.3 metres of fabric for the long sleeved dress version, but I had 2 metres of this fabric, and I had more than enough. There's probably, in fact, enough left to make one of those little mini like tube skirts or something like that, which I think I'll make with the leftovers. So 2 metres for my size was more than enough of this fabric, but it is quite wide as well. If I can find the details, I'll put some text in as to how wide it actually is. So by the time this video goes out, the Pin and Sew UK store will be open, and I will put a link in the show notes, and I'm also going to be provided with a discount code for my viewers to use as well. I haven't got the discount code at this stage because I've not been given it yet, but again I will put that in on the show notes. So be sure to head over to the website and look at the beautiful fabrics that are available. I think this one, based on the amount of interest it's had, where I've kind of shared a sneaky peek on Instagram, I think this one may sell out pretty quickly, so I'd definitely head over there quite soon if you're looking to get your hands on some of this mustard and navy striped fabric. I feel like I've waffled on for ages and ages today. Hopefully when I edit this video I'll be able to cut it down a little bit. I'm going to stop waffling now because I've waffled on forever and ever, but as always, let me know in the comments below what you think of my dress, and if there's anything else you'd like to see in future videos. Have a wonderful week, whatever you're up to, and I will see you very soon. Bye!
Heavy shackles used to hold me down. Now my feet don't even reach the ground. Just like a prisoner when his sentence ends, all my dreams are coming true.